Trump may no longer be the world's most prominent American, that distinction could now belong to Pope Leo XIV, otherwise known as Bob Prevost from the south side of Chicago. The second Pope from the Americas, as the Vatican News called him. Leo says he'll pursue the reforms of his predecessor, Pope Francis. His selection had little or nothing to do with his nationality, but even so, he leads with love and compassion, and I'm wondering, Aaron, might the cultural winds be shifting a little bit here with an American Pope?
So here's what's kind of really exciting, I think, about Pope Leo for the United States, and he's, Pope, he's in the Vatican. Most of the world's Catholics are in the global south, in Latin America and Africa and in Asia. But from the perspective of the United States right now, look, he's focused on social justice and uplifting the poor based on his years and decades of experience in Peru. He's focused on loving everyone, not concentric circles of love, as J.D. Vance likes to lay out. In fact, the now Pope tweeted against J.D. Vance's stance on loving only Americans first and everyone else after. He wants to love everyone, including the White Sox, apparently. He's a math major from Villanova, which unfortunately for me as a Celtics fan means he's definitely rooting for the Knicks right now, which is a little tough. He's got Creole roots. Both his maternal grandparents were people of color from the 7th Ward of New Orleans. His grandfather's roots were in Haiti and the Dominican. So he represents this really kind of global, worldly, but also distinctly American perspective. And I think the thing that is an opportunity now for the United States is that he's going to appear to be a pope of contradictions in our current politics, right? So he's staunchly pro-life. He's got conservative views on many things, and he'll be espousing those from the Vatican, but he's also progressive on many others. He sticks to principle, which right now, as we were just talking about with foreign policy, might be a relatively unique thing coming out from an American perspective. And so I think it's a really healthy thing for this country right now to have someone who may not fit neatly into our polarized political boxes and has a very big stage on which to make an impact on the world.
So that could be bridge building.
For sure, and I think he's such a contrast too, right? He comes from an Augustinian order, not a diocese, so he literally has to devote his whole life to the church. He has no wealth, he has no property, and I mean, that's a remarkable sort of type of service to contrast President Trump, as we talked about previously. I also think his selection is a result of politics, right? He was able to appeal to many different factions of the Catholic Church in terms of those who are wanting to eradicate poverty, those who are advocating for global peace, those who want a younger leader. He's a relatively young pope, so they can appeal to the next generation. So I think he was able to check all those boxes. And then symbolically and rhetorically, as Aaron referenced, he's been given nods to both traditional conservative Catholics as well as more liberal contemporaries who want to advocate for human rights and other such things.
Nina?
Yeah, well, he's definitely going to speak as a stronger moral authority than anybody else in American politics seem to have the backbone to do at this point. But whether or not that's going to change our very divisive politics, I'm not so sure, because I'm thinking about the criticism that Pope Francis took because of his position on climate change, because of his position on immigration and income inequality. And already we're seeing conservatives just excoriate Pope Leo XIV. MAGA activist Lisa Loomer, she described him as, and I'm quoting, just another Marxist puppet in the Vatican. And Steve Bannon predicts that there's going to be friction between this new pope and also President Trump. And I think part of that is because in America, it's not so much that religion leads politics as much as politics, leads religion. I mean, and we've got a history of that being the case. And as it turns out, in the U.S., Catholics lean Republican. Now, if I could just say one other point, I think the winds are changing so that more and more of the Catholic population is composed of Hispanics and immigrants, and so perhaps those demographic trends will change.
Yeah, I think it matters to have the Pope because it's a moral force. It can be a moral force for bad, like Pope Pius two Piuses during World War I and after World War I and World War II with fascism, or it can be a positive like John Paul II that helped end communism. So having a moral force there, particularly someone like Leo, who took his name from a pope who tried to straddle the difference between Marxism and the workers' rights and laissez-faire capitalism, means that we're having somebody that can be a moral force. And that is just a good thing for the world. And to have it as an American, it makes me proud, even though I'm not Catholic, to have someone there who's going to be a moral force for positive change in many ways that speaks to us as Americans and to the world.